was being watched real intensely. And I turned, and I'm looking down the block, and I know there's nobody there. A couple seconds later, I get the same feeling. I'm really being watched, and I turn around, I look down the block, I don't see anything. And as I started to turn back to the block, this black shadow just leaped across the block.
When its doors opened in 1829, it was the world's most famous prison. Today, it's a crumbling ruin. Empty. Or is it? Would you spend the night alone in this penitentiary to find out?
I would not stay here overnight. I would not stay here overnight. The idea of staying in this penitentiary alone is just overwhelming.
In 1787, a group of Philadelphians met in the home of Benjamin Franklin to address the inhumane conditions in their prisons. A change from whips and pillories to solitary confinement was proposed. Penitence was a Pennsylvania Quaker concept, and they invented the term penitentiary to describe it. When Eastern State opened, it was the most expensive building of any kind ever built in the United States. The prison loomed like a castle over downtown Philadelphia. But inside, it was planned as a cathedral-like sanctuary. The vaulted ceilings and wagon wheel design were copied worldwide. More than 300 new prisons were modeled on what came to be called the Pennsylvania system. The facilities may have been modern, but life inside was still unbearable. The cell doors were small, forcing prisoners to stoop as a reminder to be humble. They were to repent under what the Quakers called the Eye of God, a tiny skylight in each cell. From the beginning, there are those who called the system cruel. English writer Charles Dickens was one of them. In 1842, he visited America with a strange sightseeing list: Niagara Falls and Eastern State Penitentiary. When he returned to England, he lashed out against the new prison. I hold this slow and daily tampering with the mysteries of the human brain to be immeasurably worse than any torture of the body.
In this penitentiary, there was untold, unfathomable anguish and horror. How many people did indeed lose their minds here? Who knows what psychically is within these walls? Those who have experienced the ghosts of Eastern State Penitentiary do know.
The isolation took its toll. For a century and a half, countless souls passed through these cell blocks on their way to misery, death, sometimes insanity. Their names are lost to history. By the early 1900s, thinking had changed and the Pennsylvania model was abandoned. For 60 years, Eastern was a prison like any other. In 1971, time stopped at Eastern. Costly repairs were more than the state was willing to invest, and inmates were moved out. Its doors were locked up for the last time.
Right here in Philadelphia, Eastern State Penitentiary, you've got the real haunted house here.
You feel kind of jittery walking down because you feel like there's something there, but you turn around there and you don't see anything, you know, and it's kind of weird. It's spooky.
The hospital block would be an obvious place to, if you believed in ghosts, to either avoid or to go explore, depending on what you're trying to achieve. I do know that of at least 2 times that inmates were stabbed by other inmates and were taken back to that hospital, and both of them did not make it.
Spend the night alone in this haunted prison? You may run into things you